Hi everyone, my name is Terry, and welcome to my channel, The Pink Dumbbell Problem. This is a new episode in the Friday Fact Day series where I get to talk about my work in fitness, feminism, and philosophy. Today's facts are all about who can be a fitness instructor. This is a topic I've been meaning to do basically since the start of the channel. This was one of my original things I wanted to cover. By the way, before I go on, because I always forget and I end up tacking this on at the end, please click down below after you finish watching this video. Click like, subscribe, share this video with friends and colleagues. I've also got a Patreon account where you can support me for as little as $1 a month to make these videos and keep this content free for everybody to see. All right, now back to your regularly scheduled program. I'm just going to preface all this too by saying, of course, I'm going to be talking mostly about the Canadian situation. That's where I am, and particularly how we do things here in Nova Scotia. And full disclosure, I am not only a certified fitness instructor, I teach the courses to certify other people, and I run the association that I belong to and that our certification comes from. It's just one of many here across Canada, but it's a fairly typical model used throughout the world in quite a few countries. And so I'm going to use that sort of as my basis, but there will of course always be exceptions to how this is done. As I've mentioned in a few other videos, there is no legislation here in Canada or in any country that I know of that defines who gets to be a certified fitness instructor or personal trainer. Let me give you city slickers a little piece of free advice. There ain't no law out here in fitness land. Except maybe the natural law of the business world. Buyer beware. This needs dip. Anyway, silliness aside, let's get back to the point. What that boils down to is that a personal trainer or a fitness instructor, that includes yoga teachers, aquafit people, you name it, can be somebody with absolutely no training whatsoever, right all the way up to somebody with a PhD in exercise science or kinesiology or even education. Fitness is ultimately a buyer beware industry, and that can be really problematic because some people can do fine with just somebody showing them some basic stuff, but a lot of people need some detailed learning. For women in particular, where we didn't always have access to sport and physical activity growing up, that means we probably have less physical literacy. We got less of that as kids. And so we need people who can do the physical literacy, who understand how exercise anatomy works and are actually skilled at teaching it. And that's where the next point comes in. So here's the thing. Here's the thing is kind of becoming my catchphrase. Ultimately, it's not about how fit a person is. It's about how well they understand how exercise works and can they teach it. That is what really makes somebody a personal trainer or a fitness instructor. As the person who runs our provincial certification board, I get all kinds of emails from the general public. And quite often I get things saying, well, I can run this fast, or I can run this distance, or I weigh this much, or I have this much muscle mass, or I can bench press X, Y, and Z. None of that matters. What matters is, do you understand the science, and can you teach it to other people who don't understand it? This is why I often refer to the work we do collectively as exercise education, and I refer to us as exercise educators. Because this is not about, who won awards in a sport when they were a kid. I get a lot of those people emailing me too. This is about being able to teach. You're not necessarily going to see that in other fitness certification organizations. And they run the gamut. Some of them are literally take a test online, personal trainer and yoga instructor certifications online from things like Groupon, where you can buy one for $20. I actually bought one once, just as an experiment, because I was dying to see what it was like. And it was an online yoga instructor certification. And basically it was a bunch of pictures with the names of the different poses, the asanas, and a little bit about tiny bit about formatting your class. And then you did a little online quiz and you got to print your own certificate. That's not the only yoga or fitness certificate I have, I assure you. I'm actually properly qualified as well. There's those, and then there's ones like I teach, where you come in for several evenings or a couple of weekends, and we put you through the paces, and we give you a really thick textbook and make you study that, and set you up with a mentor that you can practice teach with, and you can go into their gym or their classroom with them and learn from them. So we have sort of a multi-layered way of doing it. And then again, you can go to things like college programs, university programs, etc., etc. The average person on the street who doesn't know anything about exercise does not need somebody with a PhD in kin to train them on how to do the basics of squats and lunges. Somebody like me who teaches a weekend course, That's all you need. And frankly, if you've got a PhD, you don't want to work for the peanuts that I work for in the community rec center. Trust me. Now, there's one more factor to this. The idea that you have to look a certain way, and there used to be a phrase common in the industry of, a trainer has to look perfect because your body is your best advertisement. I hate that phrase. That's really no longer the case. And it's still early days, but at least in the community level, and for people who are entrepreneurs and setting up their own businesses and not working for big commercial gyms, the idea of more body diversity, as well as racial diversity, gender diversity, everything amongst the training staff, the education staff, is more valuable, is finally kind of coming up and bubbling up to the surface. So we are finally, thankfully, slowly, but finally, getting away from that idea that everybody has to look like Dwayne Johnson in order to get enough clients to make a living as a personal trainer. Because the internet makes the world smaller and it makes individual instructors more accessible to anyone who wants it, is we're starting to see an interest bubbling up as well of people with various disabilities becoming trainers and fitness instructors. The fitness industry has had a big problem with ableism since forever. By the way, I did a video a few months ago about ableism. I'll stick a link down below. You can have a look at that after you've finished watching this. Watch this first. The idea in the past was always that, it would be great to have more fitness opportunities and more people specialized in working with people with different disabilities or different illnesses. But, unless you're in a really mega huge city, you're not going to get enough people together at the same time in the same place to make a class like that a viable business model. Yet another reason why we need socialized access to fitness instructors and fitness spaces. But again, that's all changing. And there is still a lot of idea out there that unless, again, you have some sort of a perfect body and you are the pinnacle of what an athlete is supposed to look like, and you look like a professional bodybuilder year round, hint, the professional bodybuilders don't even look like that year round, then you can't be a trainer. And we really need to get away from that. And of course, there's going to be certain disabilities or injuries or illnesses that rule out who can participate and become an instructor. We provide insurance nationally for our members. And what that means is that you have to be able to check all the boxes the insurance industry wants, which means you'll be able to pass our exams. Now, our exams are written in such a way that most physical issues, you can still pass the exam. There is nothing saying you have to be able to bench press a certain amount of weight or do a squat to a certain depth or any of those things. You need to be able to teach the mechanics to people, but you don't need to be able to do like a bum to floor squat in order to pass an exam with us. That leaves us space open for a lot more diversity in who we can have in our membership. The cutoff is that we require people to be able to do CPR and to be able to be responsible for other people's safety. In certain cases, both physical and mental health wise, that is going to rule a few people out. And the reason for that is we have an aging population and we need AEDs and people who know how to use them in every fitness facility. So if your disability means you can't get down on the floor to do chest compressions, that unfortunately does rule you out. However, even if you're in a wheelchair, if you can do CPR on somebody in case of an emergency, that rules you in. Ultimately, exercise education, yes, it's about education, but it is ultimately about the safety of the people in front of us, and you have to be able to take that level of responsibility. So I wouldn't say we can certify everybody with every kind of possible disability out there, but we can certify a lot more people than you would probably assume. So the way it works here is I run a small nonprofit organization, Nova Scotia Fitness, and I, along with several other people who run similar organizations in other provinces, get together once a month. So we set our national scope of practice, and we also set the national exams, both the written and the practical exams. That national association actually just recently rebranded. We went from NFLA to FLC, Fitness Leadership Canada. By the way, this is our new logo, and I have to point out that the logo was brilliantly done by my friend Courtney Westlake. And you've seen Courtney's work tons and tons and tons of times, including at the beginning of this video, because Courtney was also the artist who did the logos for my channel. I'll pop a link down below for Courtney's Twitter if you want to see the other work she does. Now, other organizations aren't at that level. Some of them are private corporations. Some of them are charity organizations. I mean, it runs the gamut of every business model you can picture. That's just here in little tiny Canada. I know Canada seems like a huge country. We're a large landmass. We're not a big country as far as the number of people go. We're all like, do we just hit 38 million, 37.9, something like that? We're not a large country. We've got, well over a couple of dozen different fitness certification organizations in this country. So bigger countries, even more. Okay, so I'm going to get off of that because it's starting to sound like a commercial for fitness certification. But I just want you to have some of the context of how that works, at least within the organizations I belong to and the structure I work in. So there's a couple of things here that kind of determine who can and can't be a fitness instructor. And it's a lot more wide open than you probably think it is. You can be a fat person, you can be a tall person, a short person, you can be a person with disabilities, and you can still make a fantastic fitness instructor. So there you go. It's a lot broader than most people would think as to who can be an instructor. And it's more important to have more diversity as instructors. We can't all look like Dwayne Johnson, great though he is, because that's not the typical person out there in the world who needs some help from somebody who knows about exercise science and movement mechanics. So that's really it. If you can take responsibility for other people's safety, if you can provide first aid and CPR in case of an emergency, and if you can pass our written and practical exams, you can be a trainer. So that's it for me this week. And thank you as always so much for watching. Don't forget to click some stuff down below. Check out my other videos that are linked and some that are coming up in the cards. And as always, lift heavy, fight the patriarchy, and I'll see you next time. Bye.